Talking media, threat to academia. Slacking, you defeated, brother. Track, I hack and eat it up. I'm heating up. Hot as my mama's stove on a Sunday. Except I'm...
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. So let's discuss NXT from December the 7th, 2021. This is the end of an era episode of NXT where a lot of more changes have occurred. Beth Phoenix is now officially gone. I don't think there was a big announcement for Beth leaving. Kylo Reilly, I'm guessing this was his last episode of NXT. And so for Johnny Gargano, it was at least for ... a while. So there was a lot of emotions for people who still are not quite grasping the concept that NXT is, changing. Usually, mostly for the better. So we start this show with a cage match. We started War Games with a cage match, started Raw with a cage match, start NXT with a cage match. SmackDown got to find somebody to throw in a cage. Maybe Nakamura and Rick Boogs versus Los Lotharios or something like that. They can start the show in a cage. But that would actually... they're not going to do that, obviously. So, Von Wagner versus Kylo Reilly. Kylo Reilly gets jumps Von Wagner during his entrance. This is a no-escape steel cage match. So, you can't win by escaping. Very interesting, and I like that rule. I've always preferred the no-escape. So everything about Von Wagner is very generic. His theme song, his look, the way he talks, everything about him is very, very, very generic. They have not put any WWE spin on him yet. They need to get to it though. Even his match style, like he used a bear hug, and it was a body grip. It wasn't quite a bear hug, but you know what I'm saying. They were using basically wrestling holds inside of a steel cage, which kind of begs the question, why even have the cage? So it wasn't a match that needed a cage. It was basically they got a cage that needs a match. They had a regular match, a very aggressive match. Two very aggressive guys. Kylo Reilly took Von Wagner to finishing school in terms of actually wrestling and teaching them the business in this joint. Very good. Von Wagner, with the low blow, leads to a couple of times of throwing Kylo Reilly against the cage, and the big corkscrew butterfly slam for the pin. Therefore, Von Wagner wins, and everybody was not surprised. There was still some boos. I'm not so sure if they were not canned boos, because they were kind of consistent, like boo. There was no inconsistency to the sounds, so maybe they were piped in, who knows. In any event, after the match, Von Wagner didn't have enough of him some Kylo Reilly. He put him in the tree of woe outside the ring, which I thought this was very cool. And then he slammed the door in his face over and over again. Pretty brutal. I liked it. I thought it was good for Von Wagner to show some intensity here. They did a good job of writing off both of these guys. But Von Wagner coming across as, this unhinged ape man. Very cool. Later in the show, he cut a promo basically saying that Kylo Reilly is done. War Games is done. But his war game is not over. So nothing he said was inaccurate. Kylo Reilly apparently is done. War Games, by virtue of being on the 6th, is done. But I don't know what his war game is. What are we going to do with this guy? Telling you this, every week that goes by that Von Wagner is not in some type of character is another week that they wasted whatever it is they're doing with him. Because people are going to look for reasons to not like him. You gotta give him a character. You gotta hurry up with it too, Joe Gacy was in the next segment. Joe Gacy, nice little spin that they did here. Gacy says that, it's not about winning and losing. It was about the bigger vision. And the biggest vision is that they broke down the barrier of the cruiserweight division. And that they had the weight limit lifted, which is a win in its own right. And now they're going to be looking to rename a particular show that is causing division. No doubt it's going to be 205 Live, right? Then he talked about Harland, saying that Harland was rejected and judged by the size of his body, and those people neglected the size of his heart. and that next week Harlan is going to show you the size of his heart as he makes his NXT in-ring debut. And I've been looking forward to this. Really been looking forward to seeing what Harlan can do. The old Parker Boudreaux. I saw a lot of people saying, it's a lot of, every week there's usually some silly criticisms of NXT. One of them has said that by putting Boudreaux in this costume, that they're hiding everything that is unique about him. And I say, like, one of the bigger issues, to be quite honest, is that he looks too much like Brock Lesnar. And you don't want people to compare him to Brock Lesnar. So you do have to, visually change how Parker Boudreaux looks. I remember he made a big splash when he got signed because he looked so much like Brock. You can't have two Brock Lesnars running around, man. You just can't. So at least for now, Harlan is a starter gimmick, of course. Who knows how long it'll last? It may end up being, a star-making thing. It might end up being just the beginning, and he ends up having to break out of this. In any event, he's doing a very good job of being this very flat affected. He doesn't really get emotional, so I really enjoy looking at him and seeing what he's going to do next, because he does very little. And when you have a character like Diesel used to be like that too, where they do very little, and then when they actually do something, you remember it. Like, I remember most of Harlan's interactions with other people thus far, because he hasn't interacted with that many characters. And usually he just appears in these Joe Gacy segments supporting him. And it's very, very creepy. It's very creepy. I love Joe Gacy. And Harlan is very unique. He doesn't speak. So that makes him unique, is him not talking, because Gacy's going to talk on his behalf. The only criticism I have of this whole package here is that, I know they're probably just doing this slowly, if Gacy is going to create a cult, let's say, which I think most people say that he's going to create a cult, then he probably needs to start working on other people as well. But you can take your time with it and build it up slowly. I'm very interested in that. So Gacy continues to get a thumbs up from me. Speaking of the broken barriers of the Cruiserweight division, we talk about that again with Brian Breaker coming out there, basically saying that him and Champa are 1-1, and that New Year's Evil, he wants a title shot. This led Malcolm Bivens to come out, and he talks about Roderick Strong and said that Roderick Strong was also won his match at War Games, and that Roderick Strong has cleared out the Cruiserweight division, lifted the weight limit, and now he is the champion on NXT. And in looking for their next big money match, Roderick Strong has chosen Brian Breaker to be his next opponent. But Roderick Strong wasn't there, of course, so they said Brian Breaker to say, well, look, where's he at? With his Steiner voice, where's he at? Speaking of Steiner, we'll talk about that in a second. But Bivens agrees to let Brian Breaker versus Roderick Strong next week. And I like that match. It's awesome. Roderick Strong is a guy who, much like Kylo Reilly and much like Johnny Gargano, is a longtime NXT guy. He is, he was there before Gargano and before Kylo Reilly, actually, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think he was. So I think he's there in 2016. And those guys came in like 2017, 2018. So you got this guy and Roderick Strong. He's going to take Brian Breaker. He's going to put him in a blender. It's going to be a really good match because Roderick Strong only really has good matches. And you're going to show Brian Breaker's personality as he's going to probably destroy Roderick Strong. This leads to another criticism that I saw online that Roderick Strong shouldn't be losing to Brian Breaker because he's a Cruiserweight champion. Okay, that's one way of looking at things. I can agree with that. I don't think people with belts should be just out there just taking losses. I also want to talk about the Cruiserweight division before we start talking about Brian Breaker and his name, which we must talk about because it's very important. The lifting of the weight limit is the second time that they mentioned this. I don't know if this is going to be official or not, but I said it before that the Cruiserweight division is a division, and I'm cool with divisions. Titles should mean something, and Tag team titles should not be held by one person. The women's title shouldn't be held by a man. Fat guys shouldn't be the cruiserweight champion. I mean, at that point, everything is just up in the air and nothing means anything. You need to be able to decide what somebody is the champion of. Now, in this case, Bivens have said, "Oh yeah, not Tommaso Ciampa, but Roderick Strong has cleared out the division." Well, there wasn't that many people in the division, if we're being honest. I don't see how he cleared it out. And plus, I think a lot of the newer guys who are coming in are under 205 pounds. Now, yes, the cuts have drastically affected the cruiserweight division, as that has been most of the talent pool that has been cut, has been cruiserweights. So there's not much left for Roderick Strong in the cruiserweight division. That's why, one of the reasons why I was like, okay, maybe rebranding it is not that big of a deal, rebranding the cruiserweight title. But what do you change it to? And, my thoughts would be the NXT television title. That would be the best way to look at it, because it's another division and it's different. Telling a guy he has to go 10 to 15 minutes with Roderick Strong in order to become the champion or beat Roderick Strong within 15 minutes is a solid decision. And plus, WWE has never had a television title, to my knowledge. Unless they had one during their weird days when they were partnering up with New Japan or something like that, or one of the Japanese promotions. I don't remember them ever having a television belt. So NXT, introducing a title. I know they had the FCW. What was it? The Jack Briscoe 15, I think it was called, or something like that. It was more of a medal than a championship. But if they take that title, the cruiserweight belt, and make it a television title, then I would like that, because it would at least be another specialty title. It wouldn't just be a copy of the North American belt, which is a B version of the NXT title, which are all open weight belts, by the way. You don't have to be a certain weight to win any of those titles. That was the one thing about the cruiserweight division that I actually liked, is that, it separated a certain segment of the company where 4 guys who could wrestle for that title. Now, there are still cruiserweights around. Both members of MSK are cruiserweights. You could kayfabe some of the other guys into being cruiserweights. You could also have put Kylo Reilly in that division. You could have put Johnny Gargano in that division. In order to keep them fresh, you could have put them in the cruiserweight division for a while and had those guys wrestle for something. Kushida is still there. Ikimenjiro is still there. There's still some guys in the cruiserweight division, but they seem like they're dead set on blowing it up. But they haven't, just said it yet, that they're blowing up the cruiserweight title. If Joe Gacy and his cancel culture manages to change 205 Live to something else, then I think we'll say officially that the cruiserweight division is dead. But since it's only Joe Gacy talking about changing the name of 205 Live, he's a heel character, so I don't really put too much stock into what he's saying. But it's good that he's not giving up on his mission of rebranding the cruiserweight division and getting rid of that distinction. So for Roderick Strong, this is great. You have to find some things for him to do, considering Strong is the strongest booked of these guys next to Tommaso Ciampa. They're kind of bookending NXT as far as being very strong, older talent. Strong doesn't lose that much. So, in this situation, him getting over on Brian Breaker could lead to Roderick Strong versus Tommaso Ciampa, which I really want. I think that match will rule. And to be quite honest, I don't see why we haven't done that yet. Have they had a match yet? Or is it like in days of the Halcyon NXT past, Roderick Strong versus Tommaso Ciampa has taken place, and I don't remember it. But that should be, that's a black and gold NXT era NXT championship match. And I would really like that, especially in the Diamond Mine where Malcolm Bivens can do the talking and everything. Roderick Strong will be more of a threat. But they did set on Brian Breaker becoming the guy. So Brian Breaker, when it comes to his name, and I finally saw the interview, I heard a lot about it, but I had never really actually seen the interview where Brian Breaker was talking about his name. So, as everyone knows, because you've been told 1,000 times how guys come up with their own names in NXT, and people still say, "Oh, they're giving them these stupid names." It's like people come up with their own names. So Brian Breaker, of course, confirms that he came up with his own name. And he says he was talking to Daily DDT, which is one of these mark sites that really kind of are pissed about NXT. He says, we were just sitting around one day, and I'm like, well, when I used to block people in football, I used to try to break them in half. That was literally what I tried to do, snap them in half and break them. What if I'm the breaker? I break people, breaker. Then it came to me. Braun is part of my name, and that's what we went with. And then he starts talking about his uncle and his dad, and he says that they laid the groundwork, but he wants to do things his own way. So, perfect. He doesn't want to walk in his uncle and his dad's shadow. He wants to do his own thing, and that's why he came up with the name Brian Breaker. You know what? No issues here. No issues here, and I'm sure WWE loved the idea of this kid wanting to do his own thing. Again, let's not rehash how WWE tries to hide who the children are sometimes, just in case they don't make the cut. And because I've talked about that too many times on this channel, and I don't want to waste anybody's time who've already listened to it. So glad that he can finally confirm what everybody already knew. Just like when Taya Valkyrie changed her name to Frankie Monet, she named herself after her dog, if I remember correctly. She had a dog named Frankie. So, people get real tight-assed about these names and not realizing that these wrestlers are coming up with these names themselves. So if you hate them, guess what? They came up with it themselves. So it is what it is. And it's plus it's just something for WWE to trademark, and it can easily be changed later. So Brian Breaker, is he going to, I think he's going to beat Roderick Strong. The match should be fantastic. It's going to be a masterclass in showing how strong and far along Brian Breaker is in his development. The guy has had less than 20 matches, and people are already like, he needs to win the Royal Rumble. He needs to beat Roman. They need to keep Roman undefeated until Brian Breaker comes to SmackDown. And I would say, I wouldn't push him that hard, okay? I wouldn't go that far. He's a big dude. He's very strong, but you don't want to give him too much too fast. I still think that him winning the NXT title while, being in NXT less than a year, and in fact, less than 6 months, is probably too fast. Because what you're doing is you're just kind of setting them up for failure. You don't want to give him too much too fast. So should he lose to Roderick Strong then? And then let Roderick Strong challenge Tommaso Ciampa? I think that would be good. I think it's good to throw a bone to the black and gold era NXT every once in a while. And I think Tommaso Ciampa versus Roderick Strong is a big enough match that we can do that. I think you can interject somebody into a feud with Brian Breaker so that he can be distracted for a little while. I think you can get away with that. Who could that be? I don't know. And whether NXT is willing to do that, I don't know. They seem to take a somewhat old school way of building characters, which it's typical Shawn Michaels, because I've seen him do it in NXT UK several times. He'll give a guy a title shot early, they'll lose, and then a couple of weeks later they'll come back, and usually that's when they'll win. And so that kind of tells me that Brian Breaker is likely to win the title on New Year's Evil, and then who knows what happens for Champa after that, So I don't know, but I am in favor of the Brian Breaker versus Roderick Strong match. I don't know if I'm going to be in favor of Brian Breaker just beating Roderick Strong and then beating Tommaso Ciampa and making it all look so easy. Because then the guy has to have at least another year in NXT, right? I mean, you're not pulling them up in April, so there really is no rush. Let him develop, let him get some time under his belt. And then, because I think the longer he lasts in NXT, the more people talk about him, the big of an impact he can make on the main roster. And then we give him more time. I don't think we need to even be talking about this guy being world champion until he's almost 30. He's like 27 or something. He's like 24 right now. So give him 3 years at least. Cut him some slack. Hopefully he doesn't get injured or anything silly like that. But I think people are trying to rush this this Brian Breaker thing, and there's no need to rush. You got him under contract for a while. There's no need to rush. I know that he typifies what you want from NXT 2.0, and that's what you want. You want him to be the tip of the spear, but there's no need to rush it because, as soon as he gets it, it becomes a who's going to take it off of him type of situation. All right, so MSK have finally met their shaman, and it is Riddle. It is not Rob Van Dam. It is not Jeff Hardy. It is Riddle. Riddle is the shaman, and a lot of people were disappointed in this. I was not. I wanted it to be Rob Van Dam. I think most people wanted it to be Rob Van Dam. But when they said it was a tag team specialist, I kind of was like, okay, Jeff Hardy. Then they did all the weed references, which again, Jeff Hardy, drugs. But Rob Van Dam was another good one for the getting pulled over thing. But Riddle is a nice substitute, and he plays a silly character very well, and he's very well known to the NXT era. And the people who have been watching NXT since they went to television, they know who Riddle is, and they probably watch Raw. So it's not that big of a stretch for it to be Riddle. So Riddle's sage advice for MSK, because they came to him by asking what should they do. They got too much too fast. They accomplished their goals too quickly, and they're not sure what to do next because they did get beat by Imperium. So they're trying to figure out what's their next step. And Riddle said to them, don't change, be MSK all night and all day. And then, of course, he said some stuff about, him and Stallion Pete winning the Dusty Cup and how much he misses Stallion Pete and that he's a beautiful man. Which is weird because Pete Dunne is a babyface on NXT now. Okay, so I guess it's fine. Then they had a come together moment when they're talking about this bag. And what's in the bag, bro? What's in the bag, bro? Riddle being stoners with MSK, that could be fun. I don't mind it. I don't think it's underwhelming, of course, because everybody wanted it to be like some big shot legend. So it's going to really push MSK to the next level. Similar to how Ted DiBiase came in for Cameron Grimes. Everybody thought, okay, RVD would shoot some vignettes with MSK, maybe make an appearance or two, and it would be pretty cool, and that'd be it. But they decided to go with Riddle. So I'm not mad at that, but I am disappointed. I'm not mad, but I'm disappointed. Using Riddle as sort of an NXT legend and the shaman of MSK, it's okay. I don't hate it. Don't necessarily love it, but I don't hate it either. So it was just like the rest of everything else that involves MSK. Just shrug. But we'll see if they continue to be fun and do fun vignettes. Because it does fit the Riddle character to be the shaman, and he was sitting around in a room with candles. Like he was a announcer on Raw wearing a big blazer, an oversized blazer at that. And now he's sitting in a room like Malachi Black with candles everywhere, like shaman bro. It's like Riddle is becoming one of those characters that's like a rubber band. Like you just bend them and stretch them. And that adaptability really helps, But they have kind of pigeonholed him as a comedy character. He kind of needs to break that a little bit. But outside of that, I'm not too upset about this. Mandy Rose interrupted Vic Joseph as he was telling us very important information, and she told him to shut up. And then she said that the tag team champions have business to handle, and that Vic Joseph needs to stop drooling. Looking at Toxic Attraction, which of course he denied that he was drooling. So Toxic Attraction defeated Yulisa Leon and Valentina Feroz. And they had theme music, and I was like, what is this shit? That sounds like they playing in Target. Look, I'm glad that there's more female tag teams, but we need to rethink that theme music, man. That sounds like some waiting room at the hospital shit. I don't know, man. That sounds like it's gonna put people to sleep. Like you should be reading Psychology Today or People Magazine in the waiting room while that theme song plays. I'm not a fan. So after Toxic Attraction defeats Yulisa Leon and Valentina Feroz, Mandy was proud of her girls, said they're still the baddest bitches with all the gold, and that they're the talk of the town. And then she says that, well, if Io Shirai or Raquel Gonzalez or whoever wants a piece, they need to come on down. This led Cora Jade to come down there. Cora Jade said that she beat Mandy Rose 2 weeks ago and she won the War Games match. That should entitle her to a championship match against Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose, of course, said no, and she's not interested in that because Cora Jade is a child. She's only 20, by the way. And I was like, that explains the immaturity of the character. That explains it all. So I'm okay with it now. I didn't know how old she was before. So I thought she's like 22 or 23 or something like that. Just being 20, she's in the MTV mode. No wonder they gave her a skateboard. She's about to get her ass kicked by Toxic Attraction because she dared get in the ring. It's really wild when you see baby faces get in the ring against 3 heels. It's like, wow, you got a lot of balls. Like, you know they're about to beat you up, right? So Raquel Gonzalez came in there swinging a chair, and everybody bolted. Toxic Attraction got the hell out of there. Later in the show, Cora Jade had dreams of becoming the NXT Women's Champion, and Raquel Gonzalez wasn't even really trying to hear that. She was like, okay, look, listen here, Chiquita, or what she called everybody, Chiquita. You're getting a little ahead of yourself. I'm going to be the women's champion. Then Kaylee Ray showed up with a big green bat, and told Cora Jade she's going to need it because she's dealing with Toxic Attraction. Odd decision, since I think that Kaylee Ray wanted to be the champion too. But maybe it's a thing where, Kaylee Ray is going to turn on Cora Jade. Everybody just being behind Cora Jade being the champion when they should want to be champion too. Also like that Io Shirai is not involved with this. Because I think Io Shirai is too much of a crutch, that they kind of fall back on her too much. Also, kind of weird that Raquel Gonzalez is involved with this, considering I thought her call-up was inevitable. So, I don't know. But I personally would like to see Raquel Gonzalez be moved up to, and possibly a contender to win the Royal Rumble. I don't think she needs to be in NXT anymore. I mean, yes, she's still green, but she's been there for 2 to 3 years already. And she's won the title. She had the dominant run. Everything she needs to learn now, she's not going to really learn it in NXT. She needs to learn it from being in the ring with people who are significantly better than she is. And most of that is the main roster. She needs to be in there with Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, all of them. There's still some stuff for her to learn. There's stuff Kaylee Ray and Io Shirai could teach her, but she's already been in the ring with Io Shirai. And Kaylee Ray, you can learn about as much from Charlotte as you can from Kaylee Ray, even though I think she got more experience in Charlotte. So it's time for Raquel Gonzalez to move on. How they're going to get her out of this division, I have no idea, but it's time for Raquel to move on. And Kaylee Ray is once again being overlooked. And I'm thinking that's going to be the impetus for a heel turn for her. So I skipped over this because I kind of just wasn't paying attention. But the Creed brothers lost their first match. They lost, I think this was their first loss. They lost to Briggs and Jensen. The Grizzly Young Veterans was on commentary. And they were talking about being scumbags because they were always treated like scumbags. So they're going to, it's a labeling theory. You call me a scumbag, I'm going to act like one. Imperium came out there. And Imperium got the respect they most properly deserve as people were singing their theme song during this match. Which I liked, okay? Usually I hate the Full Sail crowd. I hate them with a passion. But they did something right here by actually singing the Imperium theme song during this match. I couldn't care about this match either because I don't give a shit about Briggs and Jensen. I like the Creed brothers, though. In any event, Grizzly Young Veterans stole the tag rope as Briggs and Jensen were trying to tag out. They stole the tag rope. And I said to myself, you know what? Because they couldn't tag, but without the tag rope, they can't tag out. The ref won't let them tag out, which is an extra detail to the rules. Like, the ref can see that the tag rope has been stolen or lost or fell off. And therefore, when they tag, the ref is like, nope, you're not holding the tag rope. And I'm like, wow, what attention to detail. How pedantic is this referee? I've seen guys back tag, slap tag, butt tag, chest tag, 1 foot in the ring tag, and this guy's like, nope, you're not holding the tag rope, therefore it's not a legal tag. Like, how did Grizzly Young Veterans know that this was such a pedantic referee that he wasn't going to allow that tag? It's so silly. This is so silly. In any event, Briggs and Jensen won anyway with a roll up. Therefore, they didn't need a tag rope. They didn't need to tag out. It was very strange decision making to have Grizzly Young Veterans come up with this scheme to steal the tag rope, only for the scheme to not work, and the other team lost anyway. Okay, whatever. I see why I eliminated this from my brain. This was stupid. It made everybody look like a goof. Then later, Jacket Time was still making fun of Grizzly Young Veterans and their very sensitive operation. And everybody got into a big brawl backstage. So the tag team division is weak in NXT. There was a time when NXT had a really strong tag team division. But now their tag team division is pretty weak. They need some help. They need some major help. Shawn Michaels need to fix this. Their tag team division. Fix it, please. Briggs and Jensen suck so bad. They're really bad. The gimmick is not working. They're hillbillies. That's the gimmick. You know, they're just a man. Such a man. It's not going to work. It's not working. Do something else. Zion Quinn was shadow boxing in the dark and, you know, punching the air, saying, you know, this is what Santos Escobar got to look out for tonight. And I was like, oh boy, my boy Escobar is in trouble. Escobar has a good match with Zion Quinn. I really enjoyed it. They played up the size difference, of course, by Zion Quinn doing the big throw in the corner, which WWE has everybody who's, you know, taller than his opponent do. So, you know, for guys just even marginally bigger than another guy, it's, hey, why don't you just grab him and throw him? It's like, he's not Andre the Giant, you know. That top rope Hurricanrana, though, man, that could have went wrong. That could have went wrong. Ooh, buddy. Ooh, buddy, that could have went wrong. I love Santos Escobar. He should be on the main roster, if we're being honest. So we need to be having some more fun with Santos Escobar. But this finish was very interesting. Elektra Lopez slid the Thule to Zion Quinn. While he was down, she put some brass knuckles on his hand. And Zion Quinn was very surprised at the brass knuckles. It did not matter because he lost anyway via Phantom Driver. Another weird decision. It's another weird decision to have the guy, let's say, inadvertently cheating. You know, because he's not looking to cheat. Elektra Lopez is cheating. And he lost. So her help did not work. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, why? Look, I'm a big fan of Santos Escobar. I'm okay with him winning. But if you were going to do this and have Elektra Lopez slide, you know, some brass knuckles on his hand, then he should at least have used them. Didn't know he had them and was like, you know, and then the referee catches him and was like, no, disqualification. Then, you know, that would have been fine. But to have him get beat via the Phantom Driver, it's kind of like, well, her plan blew up in her face. And now she's got to explain herself to Santos Escobar that she tried to hit him with brass knuckles. She tried to stab him in the back. She tried to double cross Santos Escobar. Very strange decision making. Very strange decision making. That's very strange. I like the turn though. I like that Elektra Lopez tried to help him. I think that was dope, you know, because we got this thing here with Elektra Lopez. She's trying to do her own thing. You know, she hasn't been under the Legado del Fantasma umbrella very long, but I like that she's a character making her own decisions. You know, she isn't just a machine that Santos Escobar points and she does whatever she tells him to do. You know, it's showing that she has an individuality to the character that I really enjoy. And this is a drama thing. And I like that too, because now we've got this question of, was she trying to get Zion Quinn disqualified? Or was she trying to help him win? Did Santos Escobar know she was going to give him brass knuckles? You know, these are questions that we can discuss over the next week. So it's not a match. The match is over, and now we go and do something else. It is, they did something in this match that carries over to the next week. It's episodic. So now, even though Zion Quinn lost, the story isn't over, because now it's like, I didn't ask for the brass knuckles, or our plot didn't work. However that's going to go. And that's very interesting. And I like that aspect of it. But I don't like that he lost. Like, if you're going to put brass knuckles on a guy's fist, and he should probably win. If you're going to cheat to this degree, he should have probably won, But big fan of Santos Escobar. I love the guy. Love him. Malcolm Bivens wasn't done for the night, because he got into it with Carmelo Hayes. Now, Carmelo Hayes was a busy man, because he had a match with Dexter Loomis earlier in the night. Dexter Loomis and Carmelo Hayes had a pretty good match. Unfortunately, it ended in disqualification, as Dexter Loomis was applying the silence to Carmelo Hayes. So he had the A-Champ beat. They did a good job here with Carmelo Hayes having the taped up ribs, so Dexter Loomis could look competitive against him without Carmelo Hayes looking weak. The crowd was into it. There were dueling chants for both guys. Dexter Loomis was scaring Trick Williams. Trick Williams was not only running away from him, but squealing, and he had like a bandage on his head. So this was all silly. Trick Williams was brought in as the muscle for Carmelo Hayes, and now he's been doing nothing but running away. He's supposed to be the muscle of this whole thing. He's supposed to be bodied, and now he's like, and constantly running away from Dexter Loomis. Character development, he was brought in to be one thing. Now he's something completely different. He's more of he's not an enforcer. He's more of a partner in crime. So Dexter Loomis and Carmelo Hayes continue their feud from October. They've been feuding since October, but they haven't had a lot of matches or segments against each other. They did a really cool thing where they destroyed Dexter Loomis' hand, and he was gone for a while. I think he was gone for like 3 weeks. Now they got this match. Dexter Loomis wins the match by disqualification. So it's not over, but they protected Carmelo Hayes by not having him lose. They also protected Dexter Loomis by not having him get beat in his return match. This, of course, led to Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta. Persia Pirotta is, she verbalized some frustration, and it was an exposition where, remember we were back in Australia, we were best friends, and then we both had the dream to come to NXT. I don't know why you were dreaming to come to NXT, but let's just go with it. We both had the dream to come to NXT. You got here first, and then there was, you struggled, and then the world was shut down, and then I got to come in after shutdown, and we were doing the tag team thing, and it was all about the wedding, and yada, yada, yada. Now I get you to focus on this tag team. And Indy Hartwell's like, oh yeah, I can finally focus on the tag team. And then in comes Dexter Loomis, and she jumps in Dexter Loomis' arms. Oh, I love you, Dexy, sexy, flexy, Dexy, or whatever. And then Johnny Gargano comes in, and the family is reunited, minus Candice and Austin Theory, because neither one of them was there. But Persia Pirotta's facial expression during this scene was of absolute disgust, which furthers the story that Indy Hartwell is distracted, and she's too into everything else and not really helping Persia Pirotta. And they didn't have a match tonight. At least I didn't take right down that they had a match tonight. So they didn't have a match, apparently. And but this was still a very good segment. It furthers the story that they've been telling with Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta. And they've been telling this story outside the ring. They've done some in-ring stuff with Indy being distracted and losing, Indy being distracted, but they still won. But the outside the ring stuff has really been where it is, where Indy has showed far more interest in Dexter Loomis and everything that involves that, and not so much into the tag team with Persia Pirotta. So that's going to lead Persia Pirotta to make the turn, to make the decision to leave. And I'm very interested in where this is going. And this is a very good story. This is dope. Okay? Because you've got this situation, not just Persia Pirotta thinks that she's better than Indy Hartwell. It is a simple issue of Indy Hartwell doesn't take the tag team seriously. And Persia Pirotta is doing most of the work, and she's gonna eventually get tired of carrying Indy Hartwell. And she's gonna end up beating her up. And can't wait for that. You know, that should be Indy's big send-off, if we're being honest. Is, you know, after she feuds with Persia Pirotta, which should last for a little while, then we send Indy Hartwell to Raw or SmackDown. I mean, she's not very good, you know, if we're being honest. She's not very good. But she's been beating around NXT for like 2 or 3 years now. So I think that she's probably needs to go to Raw or SmackDown. She's shown that she's a good character, though. That she's good at character stuff. Her promos, I guess she had to cut some serious promos, but the character that she's been playing over the last several weeks has been very good. I've been really into Indy Hartwell as a character with the stuff with Dexter Loomis and the stuff with the Garganos. It's been very interesting stuff. I think this is kind of the peak of Indy Hartwell, is to introduce a friend from Australia that Indy Hartwell kind of neglects because she is so into her life in NXT. And I think it tells a very human story that you see this a lot. In fact, I think I went through it. You know, when, you know, you have an old friend from somewhere and then y'all meet somewhere else and they have new friends. They have new relationships. They have new things going on. It's not just about you anymore. And you think maybe it should be, you know, but they just put it in tag team form here. Like sometimes people go to college together and then they start finding new friends and they kind of separate, you know, that drifting apart that human beings have occasionally, you know. That's one of those things that's a very human story. That's why I really like this and I'm really kind of into it, you know. And I can't wait for the blow up. They've done a good job of prolonging the blow up. That Persia Pirotta isn't a complete and total dickhead. Now Dexter Loomis is back and Indy Hartwell is still distracted. You know, like it's one thing when your husband is hurt and you're like, oh, my heart's not in it. That makes sense. Every friend would recognize that. But the more this goes on, the more Persia Pirotta has a point when she eventually turns. She's going to have a good point, you know. So it's not going to be, well, Dexter was hurt. And she's got to be like, fuck Dexter. It's going to be like, yeah. Dexter was hurt at first. Now Dexter's back and you're still, you know. And everybody's going to be like, well, yeah, you know, she's got a point there. You know, you being your head in the clouds still, even after the fact. But, so I like this. It's a real human story. I kind of like it. So back to Carmelo Hayes and Bivens. So Bivens ran into Carmelo Hayes in the vaunted NXT parking lot, where Carmelo Hayes overheard Malcolm Bivens talking all that yin yang about Roderick Strong being the champion of NXT. And he was like, no. Roderick Strong is maybe the last man standing from that group, but he ain't the A-champ. He ain't that guy. And Malcolm Bivens was pissed. He ain't like that. So they keeping Carmelo Hayes busy. They're keeping Roderick Strong busy too. I like this. The question is going to be, are they going to try to build some kind of undisputed championship? Are they going to fuse the Cruiserweight title and the North American title? That would be interesting. They could fuse it into a new championship. That could be interesting. That could be another way of getting rid of the Cruiserweight title. Back in the day, of course, when Eric Bischoff was running Raw, they did that absolutely silly stuff where they fused the European title and the Intercontinental title because they were overlapping championships anyway. They didn't really matter, and I was okay with that decision. And then they decided to go one step beyond stupid and get rid of the Intercontinental title. And that's another reason. Oh boy, that piece of Raw history, wish that never happened. Deactivating the Intercontinental title. Some of the most offensive horseshit they could have ever done. That was my favorite title. And yes, I know the Attitude Era shit all over it. And they did. A bunch of people winning the title for 30 days, 28 days, 2 weeks, you know, because the belt didn't mean anything. But to deactivate the title, worst thing you could have possibly have done. And the Intercontinental title has been struggling to get back to prominence since they deactivated it. And what year was that? 2002? When they deactivated the belt? So maybe they're going to deactivate the Cruiserweight title again. And it only been in business for 3 years. I think it came back in 2018, maybe 2017. And now the threat of deactivating the Cruiserweight title again. Who knows? But Roderick Strong versus Carmelo Hayes, that's money. You know, if it's for the North American title, that'd be great. If it's for the Cruiserweight title, that would be great. If it's to fuse the belts, That only be great if we're just going to get rid of the cruiserweight division, right? Carmelo Hayes could be champion of both divisions, if we're being honest. But Roderick Strong could be champion of both divisions. But if we're going to deactivate one of those belts, we're probably going to be deactivating the cruiserweight belt. And maybe if they fuse the two into a whole new championship and deactivate both belts, that would be interesting too. But they would have to have something really cool planned on the other side of that in order to deactivate that North American belt, because I actually like that belt. And that belt has some pretty cool lineage to it with Adam Cole and Damian Priest and Ricochet and Velveteen Dream and Carmelo Hayes. I mean, there's some really good lineage with that North American belt. I wouldn't kill it. You know, the cruiserweight belt has a pretty good lineage too, but it's the cruiserweight division. WWE doesn't really care about cruiserweight divisions. So I'm really interested in where we're going with that. Boa threatened Idris Enofe by saying he's going to beat him up next week once he masters his powers. I was like, okay, buddy, have fun with that. Then we get another Tiffany Stratton promo. And she said that her daddy told her she was a natural athlete, and therefore he hired her a personal trainer. And she ended up being on Team USA and going to the Olympics. But her daddy told her that she was too good to be on a team. And that's why she decided to go solo and be a solo star. And that's what she's going to be in NXT. She's going to be a solo star. Tiffany Stratton continues to garner way too much attention for the bare minimum that we've done with this character. This character has did very, very little. And people have already acted an ass over this gimmick. Cultaholic and other sites have said that the Tiffany Stratton character was going to be destroyed, canceled, tossed into the wind, that the character would not actually occur, and yet the character continues. They did the same thing with Joe Gacy. Oh, this character is over. Nope, it's still there. Still there. Still kicking along just fine. Kicking along just fine. What is it about Tiffany Stratton that has people so tight-assed? That's my question. What is it about this rich girl character that has people so pissed? Like, what is it about this character that has people so upset? I don't know, man. All I see is a wrestling character. She's super athletic. I think she's kind of buff, you know. I don't think she's like super muscular to the point where she's like a freak of nature or anything. But she's clearly going to be in shape. I've seen clips of her on 205 Live. And she's going to have the typical sort of Kardashian look to her. So I don't really see what the big deal is. You know, like they're trying to add some elements of reality to the character. So people are really tight-assed about Tiffany Stratton. And that's actually making me giving me so much fun with this character. They haven't done anything yet. She literally has not done anything. She hasn't even debuted yet. Just making generic comments about Silver being tacky and being on Team USA, which I'm guessing is not real. It's a gimmick. And everybody is like, I hate this character. Why won't they get rid of her? Like, what are you talking about? She ain't done anything yet. She ain't done anything yet. Damn. This character's going to be over like a motherfucker. I'm telling you. This character's going to get over hard. These people sell too heavy for NXT, man. They be selling hard. Like, they haven't done anything. Let them go out there and fuck it up first. And then complain. Joe Gacy is another one, man. They still selling for Joe Gacy. And that bitch selling like Ricky Morton for Joe Gacy, man. It's sad. It's sad. All right, so we got to talk about what they cared about. Oh wait, no, I didn't. No, I don't. We don't. No, we don't. We kind of back up a little bit because Duke Hudson came out there in a Ric Flair wig. They looked like the wig that X-Pac was wearing when he knocked Ric Flair on Nitro. So Duke Hudson comes out in this very obvious wig, continuing to be flat affected, claimed that he has a head full of hair and that Cameron Grimes hadn't done anything to him, and that it's all a lie. And Cameron Grimes came out there and says, I can't change who I am, but at least I can tell you the truth. Look at you out here denying the facts. And said since he can't handle losing, This will let Duke Hudson to finally lose his cool and say that Cameron Grimes is a cheater and he's all kinds of other things. And then Cameron Grimes challenged him to a no-holds-barred match, to which, of course, Duke Hudson accepted. Then Cameron Grimes ran to the ring and tried to snatch off his wig, which he failed to do so. That wig is going to be a target. Wig's going to be a target. Hard to realize that they're going to continue a feud after a hair versus hair match. The old wig gag that WWE likes to do when a guy gets his hair cut, he starts wearing a wig or something like that. This looks absolutely outrageous. The platinum blonde wig is absolutely ridiculous. There's more hair on that wig than he had on his head originally anyway. It doesn't look as ridiculous as Kurt Angle. He wore the wig with the Olympic headgear. Kurt Angle, by the way, Kurt Angle defeated Hulk Hogan by submission in a match where he wore that wig to the ring. That should tell you how strongly they fully believed Kurt Angle and how much he sold that gimmick. And that Hogan, even with that doesn't work for me, brother, you know, he beat Hogan by submission at King of the Ring. That was a fun match too. Hulk Hogan versus Kurt Angle. I should watch that match again. I remember having fun with that match. But so Duke Hudson doesn't have the charisma of Kurt Angle. So he's not going to be able to pull this off. So he kind of just looks like a stick in the mud with a Q-tip on his head. And it is what it is, man. I'm not feeling Duke Hudson. He's a big dude. I liked him when he was in Evolve. He had a swagger and a confidence, which he still has. He still has swag. He still has confidence. He still has a presence because he's a big dude. The issue that he sounds snobbish, which is good, but I don't think the poker gimmick really fits him. I think a sort of he could have been a great complimentary character to like the Tiffany Strattons of the company. Like if he was to be like Tiffany Stratton is already a lot like Richard Holiday, but if he was more like that, he would be over. Like if he's like a sleazy agent or something like that, like her sleazy bodyguard, you know, or something like a lawyer. That would work so much better with his look and his diction and the way he moves things around. He should be wearing a suit and being a slime ball, you know, like an evil businessman or something like that. I think Duke Hudson could really pull that off. I'm not so sure about this whole poker thing. This poker thing ain't working out. It sucks. But now we get to talk about what everybody wants to talk about, which is Johnny Gargano. Everybody likes Johnny Gargano. Everybody loves Johnny Gargano. They started chanting, "Please don't go," before he even opened his mouth. It was, "Please don't go. Please don't go." And then Johnny Gargano talked about, "Oh yeah." I'm going to shorten this up. He talked about his one regret is that he didn't enjoy NXT more, and that he was always too concerned about whether his match or his promo was good enough. And that he was told in 2015 that he would never be in NXT when he came to a WWE tryout. And then he said that they finally gave him a chance by letting him pick up some dark matches. And the Full Sail crowd really supported him, really appreciated him, to the point where the WWE signed him and brought him back. And he says that inside, he's always been the same chubby wrestling fan, and that the only place he ever felt important or competent was in the ring, and that he truly loves and believes in NXT. That's why he stayed here so long. And that if you never fail if you bet on yourself. And in February, he begins his most important job, being a dad. And being a dad is he's going to love that kid so very much. And he's mid-sentence. Grayson Waller destroys him with a steel chair. Beats him up, powerbombs him through the table. And Grayson Waller went from being a loser earlier in the night, where he was trying to pick up a girl, and he's like, "Oi, why do you want to go out with me, oi?" And she was like, no. I'm not interested in you. I'm interested in him. Yeah, our good buddy, LA Knight, stole his girl. Still has the hot car because LA Knight is rich. Canonically, now. It's in canon that LA Knight is rich. He drove off with the girl, mocking Grayson Waller. And his impotent rage at not being able to get the girl led him to beat up Johnny Gargano. at the end of NXT. This was epic heat, though. They chanted "piece of shit." They were really, really mad. The internet was also very mad. Not only because Johnny Gargano's last segment was interrupted, which is pure WWE, by the way. You know, this ain't AEW. You're not about to get 10 minutes completely unmolested by anybody to say your goodbyes. No. They're about to beat that ass. Okay? So, I also saw some people say, like, you know, the segment was kind of expected that somebody's going to come out there and beat up Johnny Gargano to send him away. But they didn't like that it was Grayson Waller. And I think this is exactly what this guy needed. I've been talking about for 3 weeks that Grayson Waller needs something in order to justify his existence on this roster. And then he needed something to, you know, to justify his existence in War Games. And now, you know, he did that with the leaps off the cage, you know, the superplex off the cage, or the belly-to-belly superplex, and with the flying elbow drop off the top of the cage. So he justified being in the War Games match. He's a spot guy. And now he's got heat. He's got real heat. And being the guy who destroyed Johnny Gargano. And I love it. Absolutely love it. Smart decision making. We could question whether he was the guy to do that or not. You know, are there other prospects on the roster we could have done it with? Sure. But Grayson Waller is a guy who, you know, despite the fact that his team won War Games, he's not going to get any rewards for it. He was made to look like a goof. Like he was less than a man next to LA Knight. So now he's back to say, look, this NXT is done. It's over. And he said it like, you know, this isn't his NXT anymore. It's mine. You know, and I love this because it tells us it has an episodic feel to it. Not only do next week we get to hear Grayson Waller talk about this, and now it's an integral part of his character that he's the guy who sent away Johnny Gargano. But now, if Johnny Gargano decides to return, he's got an instant opponent, which I think is going to end up happening. I'm one of these people who fully believe Johnny Gargano is about to take like paternity leave. He's going to be gone until March or April or something like that. Then he's going to come back to NXT. I'd be surprised if he goes to AEW. Legit. Because I think Johnny Gargano is one of those guys where they do actually value him, maybe too much. Yes, and I've been in camp Gargano needs to leave before everybody started talking about him needing to leave. I know it become the train of all these guys got to get the fuck out of NXT. That train's been running for a long time, you know, over here. You know, I've been saying that shit. I can tell you exactly when I started saying it. Fatal 4-way for the NXT title, and it went to a draw. I think it was. Was it a Fatal 4-way that went to a draw or something like that? It was some type of shenanigans, and I was pissed. And I could not take it anymore. It was the same 4 guys over and over and over and over and over again. I was so sick of that shit. And I was yelling at the top of my lungs, these motherfuckers have got to go. And slowly but surely they're getting the fuck out of there. Because Cole is gone. Champa's still there. But Kylo Reilly is gone now, apparently. And Finn Balor left NXT, moved on to SmackDown, and then moved up to Raw. So I'm getting what I want. Each one of these guys that I felt like NXT has relied on too heavily, they're starting to get out of here. You know, but I don't necessarily mean that they need to get the fuck out the company. You know, if Gargano's going to go to Raw or SmackDown, okay, that's fine. If he's just going to return to do this feud with Grayson Waller and then move on, that's fine too. But I'm very interested in what is happening next. Like Gargano leaving doesn't affect me at all. I really don't care about that. It is what it is. I'm not emotionally attached to Johnny Gargano. But I am interested in what this means for him now that Grayson Waller beat him up. If they would have allowed him to say his goodbyes unmolested, then I probably would have been more like, okay, he's not coming back. Otherwise, they would have shot an angle, you know. But they did shoot an angle. So I'm like, okay, that angle says that he might be returning. Because I don't think the beatdown was enough to write him off TV permanently. You know, it wasn't that big of a. It wasn't like when not Braun Breaker, but Von Wagner slammed that damn steel cage over Kylo Reilly's face a bunch of times. So I don't know. So before we get out of here, we got to discuss the NXT Curtain Call. NXT did their own version of the Curtain Call where Shawn Michaels, of course, was involved with this. Was out there with Johnny Gargano and Kylo Reilly. So after NXT went off the air, Shawn was out there kissing Gargano and hugging Kylo Reilly. And I'm like, smarts. They get what they want all the time. Every single fucking time. They couldn't hold kayfabe for a fucking hour. They couldn't hold it for an hour without shitting all over it. So, of course, Shawn Michaels came out there to wish Johnny Gargano a fond farewell. And Kylo Reilly, who we saw get killed 2 hours ago, perfectly fine now, can't hold kayfabe an hour. I mean, kayfabe is like one of those rice strainers. It holds barely enough, and then everything else just comes through. This is horse shit, you know. So I'm not upset. I'm not mad about it. Just want everybody to know I did see it. And yeah, it was fucking stupid. Why did they do that? But they did it because NXT is Smart Central, even if it's supposed to be developmental. It's still Smart Central USA, and they're going to get what they want. And what they wanted was Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly getting the big send-off. I'm surprised they didn't have fucking fireworks and pyro, you know, or whatever. But I truly believe that Johnny Gargano probably will be back. I would be surprised if he popped up in AEW. I really would. Kyle Reilly wouldn't be surprised at all. Actually, expecting him to show up at Winter is Coming. Expect him to be there. I expect Kyle Reilly to be there. I don't expect Johnny Gargano to be there. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace.